Hey everybody, what's going on? There's a lot to talk about with the NHL Draft just 5 days away. The Montreal Canadiens have a big decision to make with a 5th overall pick, and I'm going to dive into in this video who I ultimately believe the Montreal Canadiens will select with that pick and what I think that means for the rest of their offseason. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to this channel, like this video, and comment down below your thoughts on who the Montreal Canadiens should select at 5th overall. As we stand right now, there's a lot of different variables up in the air in regard to how the top four will play out, but there's at least some idea of how this thing will go. Connor Bedard will go first overall to the Chicago Blackhawks, followed by the likely selection of Adam Fantilli to the Anaheim Ducks. There is an outside chance, according to Jeff Marek, that the Ducks could ultimately select Matvei Michkov. I still think it's rather unlikely, but that's what we're looking at with the number 2 selection right now. Followed by the Columbus Blue Jackets at 3rd overall, who I believe will be Leo Carlsson in that spot. Will Smith is the odds-on favorite to go 4th overall, then to the San Jose Sharks, which leaves the Montreal Canadiens in an interesting spot with Michkov likely on the board, but it just doesn't seem like the Montreal Canadiens are going to be selecting the talented Russian forward. It just doesn't look like he's the type of player they want in their system, along with what they're trying to build on offense with Cole Caulfield already in the fold. They don't really want two offensive first wingers in their top 6 that are small in stature, and I really can't blame them for that. Even if Michkov does have that elite offensive ceiling that the Montreal Canadiens have been looking for the last 20, 30, 40 years, it just hasn't come to fruition ultimately. So there's going to be some interesting calls at the 5th overall pick. You're likely going to see Ryan Leonard on the board there, David Reinbacher, Dalibor Dvorsky. Those are 3 of the names I think Montreal Canadiens fans should be keeping in mind for that 5th overall pick. And I ultimately think it will come down to one of Ryan Leonard or David Reinbacher. I think with the way the Montreal Canadiens are building their team, they have a lot of 2 or 3 defensemen in the fold as we stand right now, and I believe that Reinbacher fits that mold to a T. There is an outside chance that he could be a number 1 defenseman, but I personally don't see the offensive game there for him to be that number 1 defenseman. I see him as a really solid number 2 down the line, and he could be a solid pairing with Lane Hudson. There's a lot of people saying that makes a lot of sense when that eventually would come to fruition, but I just think there's not enough offense there for him to be the selection at 5th overall. I believe that the Montreal Canadiens will ultimately select Ryan Leonard with their 5th overall selection. They speak highly of him in the media in that same mold as a Matthew Tkachuk or a Brady Tkachuk, and we know what happened when the Montreal Canadiens passed on Tkachuk last time around for Jesperi Kotkaniemi. That's what happens when you select for need over best player available. Sure, the conversation was there for Kotkaniemi to be there as a late riser, but it just doesn't make sense to not consider a player in that mold that will get you through the postseason like a Ryan Leonard. So I ultimately think the Montreal Canadiens are going to select the play-driving winger that should have a 30-goal campaign on a regular basis for this team in the future. I believe that 30 to 35 goals per season isn't out of the question, and he's going to be someone that gets you through the postseason and someone that you're going to want to have in the top 6. I also believe that he would be a great fit on a line potentially with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield potentially. I think they've been looking for that winger to make the fit defensively and someone that can retrieve the pucks. And I believe that Ryan Leonard is a solid 2-way threat that can ultimately fit really well in that line down the line. I think a lot of dominoes are going to fall for the Montreal Canadiens in the next 5, 6, 7 days. There's a lot that can transpire. I believe Kent Hughes is going to have a lot of irons in the fire, and I do believe there will be more acquisitions made for this team in terms of trades, even if Pierre-Luc Dubois isn't ultimately acquired by the club. I believe it makes a lot of sense for him to be dealt to the Los Angeles Kings and sign an extension there. But we'll see what transpires and how much the Montreal Canadiens are willing to pay, because I think a Pierre-Luc Dubois transaction should ultimately go down before the draft, even if it doesn't necessarily have to. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below who you want the Montreal Canadiens to select with the 5th overall pick in the 2023 NHL Draft. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.